A land where golden pagodas shine brighter than the city lights, yet people live in darkness from endless blackouts, where $10 can be exchanged for an entire kilogram of paper money. And strangest of all, a city of sin hidden in the Golden Triangle, where anything can be bought or sold. Welcome to Myanmar, a country of contradictions, mysteries, and shocking truths you won't believe until you see them. 7 strange and heavy truths from a country on edge. They call it the country where clocks don't quite agree with the century, where temples shine brighter than the grid, and where a road can flip from market to militia line in a heartbeat. This is Myanmar, land of golden stupas and green hills, of ancient customs and very modern grief. If you've only known it from postcards, buckle up. The real story moves like a shadow through neon, a tale of earthquakes and blackouts, face-tattooed beauty guardians, a city of sin that trades in everything, and a commercial capital where motorbikes vanished as if swallowed by folklore. This isn't rumor-mongering. It's a walk through 7 strange and heavy truths, each one documented, each one stitched directly to the fabric of daily life. One life in a civil war's long shadow. In 2021, a military coup lit the fuse on the country's newest phase of conflict. By 2025, the crisis had vaulted Myanmar into one of the world's direst humanitarian emergencies. The number that matters isn't abstract. Millions of people have been uprooted inside the country, the kind of displacement that empties neighborhoods and turns schoolyards into ration lines. The United Nations June 27, 2025 update estimated about 3.5 million internally displaced people, and warned that conflict, monsoon flooding, and the spring earthquakes have stacked crisis atop crisis. What does that feel like on the ground? It looks like long lines for water tankers. It's teachers who've become aid workers and shopkeepers who've learned how to read the sky, the radio, and the silence at the same time. It's also a nation where the price of safety is measured in bus tickets and border crossings, and where the idea of home keeps moving. 2. When the earth joined the war, the Mandalay quake. On March 28, 2025, nature struck hard. A magnitude 7.7 earthquake ripped along the Saging Fault, with catastrophic shaking felt across Mandalay and much of central Myanmar, and damage even in neighboring Thailand. Global monitors and major outlets converged on the same frame. A once-in-a-century scale jolt, with thousands dead or injured, bridges down, apartment blocks shattered, and an aftershock train that kept families sleeping under the open sky. Death toll figures varied as days passed and reports came in, from the low thousands upward, underscoring how chaotic the count was amid ongoing conflict and damaged infrastructure. Weeks later, humanitarian agencies were still mapping cracks in the city and in the system. Hospitals short on supplies, roads scissored by landslides, electricity grids coughing back to life in uneven bursts. The quake didn't just break buildings. It cut threads that hold everyday life together. 3. Yangon, a capital of contradictions and risk. Drive into Yangon, the country's commercial heart, and you'll feel a paradox. Skyscrapers shoulder markets. Colonial facades throw long shadows over tea shops. Yet in 2024, Forbes Advisor ranked Yangon among the top 3 riskiest cities for travelers, behind Caracas and Karachi, a label that exploded across regional media and gave would-be visitors pause. Whether you agree with the methodology, it captures a wider truth. Risk isn't a tourist warning here. It's daily weather. Then there's Yangon's other oddity. A city that outlawed the sound of scooters. Since 2003, fuel-powered motorbikes have effectively been banned citywide. A rule so unusual in Southeast Asia it reads like urban legend. Multiple reports, from Channel News Asia features to local press and wire services, confirm the ban, and the confusion about why it persists. The result? Delivery riders push bicycles through heat waves, and traffic is a ballet of buses and cars without the usual swarm of two-wheelers you see in Bangkok or Hanoi. At night, when the rolling blackouts roll deeper, neighborhoods flicker to life with generators. In a city that once sold itself on its shine, power has become schedule, habit, and luck. 4. The city where everything is for sale. Travel northeast, toward the Chinese border, and you'll reach a neon mirage with a Burmese name and a Chinese heartbeat. Mongla, sometimes written Mongla or Mongla Township, Officially, it's in Myanmar's Shan state. Unofficially, it is a vice economy packaged for weekenders from Yunnan. Casinos where alcohol is less common than caffeinated, uppers, brothels, and a wildlife market notorious among conservationists. This is the frontier where currencies, cell networks, and even time zones lean north, where the state's writ is faint and the house always wins. Investigations and reportage over the years paint a consistent portrait. Mong LA's boom rides on illicit gambling and illegal wildlife trade, with pangolins, ivory, and big cat parts surfacing beneath the veneer of a regular market. It's all the more shocking because it unfolds in broad fluorescent daylight. The question people whisper isn't, is it legal? But, how long can it last? Border politics shift, crackdowns come in waves, and vice cities have a habit of collapsing overnight when the currents upstream change. 5. The women who wore their courage on their faces. On the western mountains, in Chin State, beauty once arrived as a ceremony of endurance. For generations, girls in some Chin communities had their faces tattooed dots, stripes, grids by hand, using pigments made from plant resins and soot. The reasons offered are layered, to mark identity, to honor tradition, and, in some tellings, to make young women less likely to be abducted by predatory rulers in a violent past. The practice was banned in the 1960s and has nearly vanished. Today, most face-tattooed Chin women are elders, living vessels of a fading script. Photo essays and cultural reporting spanning the last decade document their stories, their patterns, and their fear that when they pass, the living archive passes with them. Listen closely and you'll hear a bigger theme. In Myanmar, identity is never just identity. It's history written in skin, in fabric, in ritual, and sometimes, it's a shield. 6. Gold that outshines the grid. If you want to understand Myanmar's moral geometry, go at dusk to a hill in Yangon where a great bell-shaped stupa bursts from the skyline. Shwedagon Pagoda. Its terraces are layered with gold, its crown set with thousands of diamonds and rubies, and the faithful swirl around it like a slow galaxy. The numbers vary from guidebooks to heritage blurbs. How many leaves of gold? How many carats in which gem? But the idea is constant. This is a place where devotion and opulence meet, where a spiritual treasury glows even when the city's power stutters. In a country of rolling outages and empty ATMs, Shwedagon's constant gleam feels like a thesis statement. Richness survives, just not always where you'd expect. 7. The cool powder painted on warm faces. You'll notice it first on children, swirled like leaves or moons on their cheeks, then on women selling tea, and on men peddling trishaws. The creamy yellow paste is thanaka, a traditional cosmetic made by grinding the bark of specific trees with water on a stone. It's sunscreen, skin soother, and aesthetic all in one, with references to its use appearing in Bagan-era murals. In early 2025, Myanmar's authorities even moved to nominate thanaka for UNESCO Intangible Cultural Heritage status, a rare point of cultural pride in a divided time. Thanaka is also practical. When the grid fails and the heat vaults over the rooftops, nothing feels better than a cool mask that costs less than a bus fare. Money that weighs like bricks. Ask a shopkeeper about money and you'll get a sigh. Years of crisis have weakened the chot, with banks and informal markets offering starkly different exchange rates and cash sometimes moving in sacks rather than wallets. That gap between official and street is more than a finance story. It's a survival map. People queue to withdraw, businesses hoard hard currency, and police in airport halls have been known, according to traveler accounts, to change money on the spot. Inflation means a thick wad of chot might buy little more than dinner, and a crisp foreign bill may be the most valuable thing in your pocket. What matters is the image. In today's Myanmar, money is heavy and value is slippery. Markets that sell the ordinary and the unthinkable. Night markets pulse like small planets here. You'll find betel quid stands where teenagers mix slaked lime, areca nut, and fragrant leaf with the dash of a bartender. Fruit carts selling guava shaken with chili salt, trays of fried snacks that mirror Indian street food traditions, and, occasionally, stalls with a whisper network, where something illegal might surface if you know the language to ask. In Mong La and other border fringe economies, the wildlife trade isn't rumor but research-documented reality. Pangolin scales in sacks, hornbill beaks, the grim inventory of a species' bad luck. But most markets aren't dens of sin. They are defiance made daily. A battery lamp, a vegetable knife, a child's laughter chasing a plastic ring. Proof that even when big systems fail, small ones keep the lights on. Myanmar is not a single story. It's a mosaic where beauty and brutality sit in neighboring stalls. Tell it with empathy, date your facts on screen, and let the contradictions breathe. The mystery is not a gimmick here. It's the air people are breathing.